just got Martian Turks. You guys didn't have like a children's size? You're huge.
Great behind the scenes content.
Someone zip me up.
Oh, the back's not zipped.
Someone zip me up.
That's the
Your butt cheeks.
that's the twist. As it turns out, the Martians are here.
Your fucking butt.
Let's go! Get up off your ass! Let's fucking go!
All right, so let me give a little context to what's going on. This was a coffee bag commercial for Black Rifle Coffee Company. They had an exclusive roast coming out called Caffeinate Mars, and the VP of social media at the time was basically like, here's the art for the coffee bag. Let's do something just high octane Starship Troopers inspired. And there was going to be a base on our Mars called FOB Musk, Forward Operating Base Musk. So that was kind of like the two things, Starship Troopers and FOB Musk. He was like, those were kind of his two things of input. And then he went off and he basically kind of let me and my team take it from there and do whatever we wanted. So we know what the concept is. We write the script, it gets approved, but while it's even in like the approval process, we start putting the production together. So we're finding costumes, gathering props, and what we landed on was mostly Amazon type stuff. So we found some cheap, really cheap helmets off Amazon, and I think we went to like a Spirit Halloween and picked up another kind of helmet, and they did not look very good. The orange jumpsuits we found on Amazon were pretty cheesy looking. And then we went and bought a bunch of Nerf guns. We knew that was going to be our Space Marine outfit. And then what really helped tie it together was we had some real kind of military equipment and vests and things like that we could put over it. And then once we really dirtied up the orange jumpsuits, and I had a friend and coworker of mine who spray painted some kind of like texture, kind of like, you know, the way the military would spray paint their guns to camouflage them and stuff. Use similar techniques, but he used it on the actual jumpsuits as well. And so that kind of gave them a cool, unique texture. And yeah, I think I'm really happy with how they turned out. They were super cheap to put together, and I think they look, you know, one of these guys is my friend Ryan. He's got a just modern day K-bar like strapped to it. You know, most of these patches were already here. Like this American flag patch was on the costumes already. There were some other cheesy patches that we cut off, and you know, they've got Black Rifle patches on their actual vests and things like that. And they've got drop holsters, random stuff. That's like a chest. It's like a fanny pack, but you can put it on your chest too. So, and this guy's that's Clint. He's awesome. He doesn't even have a helmet on, which is kind of funny. It's part of the joke of this video. Smoking a cigar, no helmet. And then we'll get into the location in a second, but just to finish up on our actual production design, that's how we made the Space Marines. And then the aliens was going to be much trickier. Let me get to maybe our first glimpse. There we go. So here, our Martian, we just got a green spandex, or what do they call it, like a green morph suit. Found a very cheap quality mask off Amazon. You can't even, there's a better view of it right there, but just real cheap. It's not even the same green as the morph suit. And then at a local Army surplus store, I found these like space blankets. You know, they're like that kind of, there's a silver side. They're like an emergency poncho blanket thing. So there's a silver side, and then there's this orange side. And So we were kind of like, oh, maybe they'll just be wearing these like orange poncho things. I don't know. They were put together very last minute. Obviously, most of the work was put into making these Space Marines. But like here, you can kind of see them too. Very janky, but I knew they weren't going to be that visible. They were going to be shown very, very briefly, so I wasn't too worried about it. But it was definitely funny to look at just once we put the costumes on for the first time. We didn't put it all together until we were out there on location. And Clint, he was kind of one of our main actors here. He was a little worried about what the final product was going to be once he saw what these alien costumes were going to look like, Martian costumes. But it all worked out because they're shown so briefly. It's not a super serious video, so that helps. Anyway, so costumes, extremely affordable. I think this whole project cost under $2,000, and that's because I booked Clint a hotel and stuff like that for him to stay, and gas because we all drove and all that stuff. So that ate into the budget a little bit. But basically, so once we finished designing the costumes, the props, all that stuff, we loaded up and we were in Salt Lake City. We drove about 4.5 hours south where there's an actual Mars research station near a town called Hanksville, Utah. So I found that on Google Maps, and then from everything, it looked like you could just drive around this area, and it wasn't going to be very busy. So we kind of didn't have any. We had ideas for places we wanted to go scout out, but nothing was locked in, and so that was a little bit sketchy. But we were pretty confident that there's so much you could just drive around that we were bound to find a place that would work. So me and another guy drove out a day before everyone else, so that way we could go try to lock in a location. And the original location we were going to go shoot in, there was a flash flood and we couldn't cross the river to lead to where we were going to shoot. So it kind of threw a wrench in all of it. We camped out that night, just random spot we found, pitched our tents, and then the next morning we set out to find more stuff, more places. So we ended up driving off-road a decent ways, and we found... So the Marines are down there. Main guy runs the road, takes him into this gauntlet here. So the next morning we head out and we end up finding the Mars Research Station, which there's actual signs saying not to get too close to it. So we were as close as we were legally permitted to be. And so there's just off screen over here, there's a little sign posting like what it is and what they use it for, not to go any closer. But I was like, this is so perfect. Like the production value of having this in our establishing shot, and it's just kind of back there the whole time. Just really lucked out, and the whole area is just super cool looking. So we would have made anything work. But yeah, so that's kind of the start of it, is just jumping right into it, briefing in the desert outside of their kind of base. And, you know, the premise is Martians took over Fobmuth, took their coffee. They've got a bag of coffee that they need to go deliver. And they're going to have, you know, trouble getting there. It's the idea. Basically, the concept for these videos was let's jump into like a 2-minute scene of a movie that doesn't really exist. So we're always just kind of like jumping right into the middle of it. You want to tell the full story, and they're going to end sometimes abruptly, but they're going to feel like a 2-minute scene from a bigger movie that people are going to be like, oh, where's the full thing? That was kind of the idea. So we're just jumping right into it. And then, yeah, then they're all just gearing up. And these guns, these Nerf guns, like, I was super impressed. Once we painted them and added some detail and some, you know, aged them, added some scuff marks and things like that, they're like super badass looking. He's reloading here. Like, look at that. That's pretty. I would shoot like a feature film with these painted Nerf guns. That's how impressed I was with them. And just some Home Depot gloves there. And so basically, here's one of our leads, Clint. He's giving the briefing. They've got some Caffeinate Mars stickers that go with the coffee bag. They've got them on their helmets. Just kind of brand it as much as possible. And here's going to be our just kind of lead, no-name Space Marine who we're going to be following majority of the time. But we'll just let that play. So another thing to mention is I shot this on Sirui Saturn anamorphic lenses, the 50 and the 75. It would have been cool to have the 35 as well, but so I thought it would help with just the really cool environment we were going to be in. And then here's our big reveal. They're heading out, come down. Clint lost his legs in, I think it was Afghanistan. I don't know. He's got a really, really cool, really crazy story and motivational story. Actually, this transition here was just kind of like in the moment. This was the last thing we shot for the day, was this brief scene. So we already did all the action and all that stuff. And we knew that they were just going to do a briefing and then run off. But he was smoking this cigar, and we kind of thought of this transition in the moment where he drops it. He's going to kick it, walk off, and we were going to lead it just straight into the action, which is, here's our no-name Marine struggling through, just jumping right into combat, hits the ground. And all these explosions and effects and stuff are all action essentials too, which is from Video Copilot. It's like the same effects that most people got started with, and I still use them to this day, like 10 years later. So it's pretty funny. And then here I put a GoPro inside of our no-name Marine's helmet, so that there would be some level of, you know, you can see some of the scuffs and scratches and stuff that we added to that helmet. And then my friend, he also kind of just threw in a little bit of digital stuff as well. Like there's a HUD. We didn't have a lot of time, so it was edited very quickly. The effects were edited pretty fast as well, but they came out pretty good. And so yeah, I put it inside the helmet to get this POV shot of him talking to Clint. Did a little eye tracker there, and into these over the shoulders, sending him off with the coffee bag. He's gonna give him some cover fire. And then here's the first time we see our Martians, which I think it worked out pretty well. The sound design's like real heavy. There's a lot of shit going on. You see him just running over, shooting. You don't really have time to think about the way they look.
Here, so everything's just going crazy, and you're gonna like work your way this way, kind of ducking and dodging as you go out, and then we're just gonna stay with these guys as they hold them off. Heston, you can be on this side.
Hurt the dog.
Yeah, we're gonna need you to like fall down this little slope and bash your head on a rock.
Dude, if I had like pads on in this shit, dude, I'd throw myself down this shit. Like I'd stand up on that.
Let's get over there. Can you rock hop?
Fucking rock
yeah, dude,
hoppers.
that's why they call me that. Just have no peripheral.
You can walk without your mask on too.
Dude, I'm in character.
Yeah, so you're just kind of in.
action. And then another thing we were kind of doing to help, so here you can kind of see there's some real particles going on here, and that's from just having one of the other Space Marines. That's the other thing, is we did have some extra crew, and then basically a lot of people backed out, and then everyone who was going to play a Space Marine was also going to need to be, you know, doubling as some other kind of assistant in the production. And so this is another Space Marine standing off here, and he's just throwing clumps of dirt at this guy here and just trying to get some of those real elements of stuff flying and bouncing off his helmet. And then they're mixed in with, actually this one's not even, there's no effects in this shot at all. Like, that's just a practical clump of dirt thrown. And then more hits. And something I learned as well with this guy, I started trying to add in, you know, like the classic blood, green blood or some kind of blood hits and stuff like that in this over the shoulder, but it just wasn't looking super good. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'm just going to add hits all in the environment around the guy. And then once he does some big dramatic fall, like, you're going to know he's getting shot. And it's a lot easier to blend some of these effects into the environment versus the kind of cheesy blood. You could have made it look good, I just didn't have time. But the hits in the environment, I think, sell it a little more, and they keep the quality of it a little bit higher. It just looks a little better. So we'll watch it, and like, I don't know, it's just, you tell me. I think it looks better than some of the, you know, blood that you've seen in a million things. It just didn't look very good. And then we keep going. Something I'm proud of in this shot that no one noticed at all was, you know, here's again action essentials, just muzzle flashes, some classic tricks going on here that most people have probably learned from Video Copilot, but adding just more foreground dust hits. But also I've got these like falling rock elements going on back here tracked in, just to kind of bring that background to life a little more. And then in this shot, because it's a profile, I thought, and here luckily it is fast, because if you freeze on it, you really see how janky this costume is. This morph suit's just like clearly a morph suit. They're just using some of the same Space Marine Nerf guns. We never get a super good look at them, so it's like, I think this one's a little more Martian-y looking. It's got these little tubes and stuff. But this mask, like, you could have made it look a little better, but it's funny because it's like a totally different shade of green. You can see the person's neck underneath it. But since this was going to be a profile shot, I did want to, yeah, here it is. So he turns, he shoots, and then we're just kind of jump straight, like halfway into this blood hit. More shots ringing out around him, just pinging off the rocks and stuff like that. But when you play at full speed, it's, you know, just fast enough to tell you what happened, but you don't get to linger on it enough to see how shitty things look. And then we jump straight into that shot, just super quick insert. But I thought it was cool. We just clamped a GoPro onto one of the Space Marine guns. And this is a totally different guy. This is from a different part of the video that we ended up not using. But it's so fast you don't notice. Put kind of a digital screen on there, somewhat inspired by that Halo 3 live action trailer. That's like one of my all-time favorite. It's probably the best live action short film for any video game I think ever made. And a real shame that guy, Neil Blomcamps, made it. It's a shame that he didn't get to do Halo, because based on that short, he would have done a pretty awesome job. So yeah, just a really cool short insert to kind of jump back over to our other guy running. So we'll kind of play at normal speed. Then he comes running. This shot was always built in, inspired by, there's a shot in Elysium where they get kind of ambushed by the military police, whatever those dudes are that are hunting them down. They're in a plane flying by, and one of the guys holds his gun up and he shoots this like automatic pistol, and it's this really cool over the shoulder shot. And I was like, oh, it'd be awesome to do something like that. Obviously we're shooting this in about 4 or 5 hours, so I can't sit there and spend the time to like set that shot up as the way I would want to. But so this little sequence here, we build up, try to use as much of the environment we're in as possible. So get our Martians way up on this hill, let's look down and get kind of a cool establishing shot. So we see the terrain he's running through down this road between mountains. And then this is our guy seeing them. Some very bad, some really bad and rushed tracer shots flying by. But again, in normal motion, that it's not as bad. It's just an Instagram video. Then he picks that pistol up, and this pistol we were pretty happy with too, because it is battery powered. It's a water gun. So you fill this little reservoir with water, and then when you pull the trigger, the slide actually moves back and forth like an automatic thing. So we just took the water out, let him shoot it, and threw some effects in there. So you can't, the slide moving it's super subtle, especially once you add in some of the effects, but it actually moved. I feel like you would notice if it wasn't moving at all. It would have taken more time for me to digitally try to do it. And then this, it just, I don't know, adds a little bit extra. It's a cheap water gun. And then our wider shot, we actually see one of the Martians getting taken down. And there were some other shots in here that just, because at the time Instagram Reels could only be 1.5 minutes, so we had to cut a lot of stuff out and kind of rush it. So instead of showing both these guys fall, we just kind of jump cut and he made it. And then we've got a cool wide heroic shot of him coming up this hill. He sees Fob Musk, which is just they're actually the bases from Halo 1 from Blood Gulch. The bases from that game, I found just some like pictures of them, cut them out, stuck them down there, and just tried to, you know, dirty them up a little bit and add some heat wave in there so that there, you know, no like copyright issues going on. I'll just play that sequence. And just the whole place was cool. It just, there's production value in just filming in a place like this. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. This base, it's just like I said, those pictures cut out, tracked down in there, and then I grabbed some little steam effects and things like that to be coming out. Some cracked ground, just 2D. I think these are also from Action Essentials. Just kind of put those in and around. Just goes to show, like, you don't need a ton of money. Like, this rifle looks pretty decent too. We scuffed it up and all that stuff. But yeah, like we kind of, with this commercial, we just kind of set out to prove that we didn't need a ton of money to go make something cool and high quality. We ended up getting chased out by a storm coming in. Out there, it was like storms they just blow in. The wind gets crazy, and you definitely don't want to get stuck out there in heavy rain. So I was trying to get our drone set up and all that stuff, and just get more shots, and we just got chased out and had to start the journey back to Salt Lake City. But yeah, tons of cool little tricks and effects. And this was Heston. He was the photographer at Black Rifle Coffee too, and he took a pretty, he sells this hit, and it's just like gravel and rocks over there as well. And he just really sells this hit, and he just freaking sends it on these rocks and lands on his hip and back. But yeah, in the description I'll link to the Instagram version of this. So it's vertical, so obviously a lot gets cut out. It was supposedly it was going to be uploaded in its widescreen format too, and that never happened, which is kind of a shame. But I'll link to the Instagram version if you want to check it out. What's awesome about doing these kind of projects is, especially if you're trying to make movies, like if that's the end goal, every single one of these shoots is basically just building up and training for that. So like so many of the practices gone into making this one, from like production design and making costumes and the planning side of it, scouting, like you get to do everything you do when you're making a movie, but you do it on like this micro scale, and it's just so much fun. And I love this run and gun style. There literally was no crew. Everyone you see as Space Marines and like the aliens, they just doubled when needed. But we really didn't need anything. Like we threw lavs on people when we needed audio, and then we'd have a shotgun mic for as kind of a backup to just get our ambient sounds, things like that. But yeah, very happy with this one turned out, given that we shot it in like 4.5 hours and spent very little money. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching this breakdown. I'm going to do some more breakdowns of just some of the kind of more fun, wild shoots that I've done over the past couple years and the ones I'm doing recently. Hope you like it. We'll catch you guys in the next video.